They promised me riches if I could feed Mammon with 3 fruits from my womb. The men came to me in dreams first. Then one appeared in flesh, carrying gold teeth and fire in his breath. I birthed daughters, not for love, but for loyalty to the spirits of wealth. Welcome to the part 2 of Sleep with More Men, I Need More Money. A gripping urban folktale of power, survival, and the cost of freedom. Amaka had never been more certain of anything in her life. The mirror had to go. It had become more than glass, it was a gate, a portal, something ancient. Every time she passed it, she felt heat under her feet and whispers behind her ears. Ifeanyi was deteriorating fast, haunted by voices, trembling at every knock. They had no Chika to lean on. She was gone. Their mother was a demon in human skin. And the prophetess' words were louder than ever, one must walk away, completely. Amaka waited until midnight. Mama Red was in the backyard, chanting behind the neem tree like she always did. A basin of gin and snails sat before her. Amaka crept back inside, dragging the large mirror away from the wall, revealing chalk marks and red stains smeared beneath it. Ifeanyi stood by the door, holding a jerrycan of kerosene. Her hands shook violently. "You're sure?" Amaka asked. Ifeanyi nodded. They doused the back of the mirror, stuffing the space beneath it with Mama's wrappers, old books, and torn pillows. Amaka struck the match. The fire hissed, then screamed. It licked the glass like it was alive, then burst forward with a gust of heat that knocked both girls backward. The mirror cracked, once, then twice, then shattered. From outside, a scream tore through the night. Mama Red. The house trembled. The air turned cold. Amaka and Ifeanyi held each other, coughing, crying, watching their past burn to ash. When Mama burst into the room, eyes bloodshot, her voice was not her own. "Who gave you permission?" But the fire had made its choice. And it wasn't on her side. The next morning, the entire room smelled like smoke and defeat. The mirror was gone, just black dust and broken glass remained. But something else had broken too. Mama Red. She sat on the floor, eyes wide and unfocused. Her wrapper had slipped, revealing tribal marks no one had noticed before, strange symbols carved into her skin. She mumbled to herself, sometimes in English, sometimes in languages the girls had never heard. Ifeanyi stayed curled in a corner, trembling. She hadn't spoken since the fire. Amaka remained alert, watching Mama like one would watch a snake trapped in a glass jar. By nightfall, Mama Red stood up. "You think you've won?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "You think the spirits will let you go just because you broke a mirror?" She moved toward them slowly. "You ungrateful witches. I gave you everything. Food. Shelter. Power. And you repay me with betrayal." Amaka stood her ground. "You gave us chains, Mama. Not freedom." Mama Red laughed, a deep, cracked sound that echoed against the walls. "Then let's all suffer," she whispered. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small gourd sealed with cowrie shells. She smashed it on the floor. Smoke burst out, thick and choking. Ifeanyi screamed and collapsed. Amaka coughed, crawling toward her. "Mama, stop," she shouted. But Mama Red's eyes rolled back. She began chanting, her voice rising in tempo, calling something unseen. Suddenly, a gust of wind burst through the windows, slamming doors and flinging plates to the ground. Amaka crawled toward the kitchen. She grabbed salt and water, the only things the prophetess said could break dark tongues. She threw it on Mama. The woman shrieked, her skin sizzling. The darkness left with her scream. But so did her soul. The house was quiet for the first time in months. After Mama Red's collapse, the spirits left the room like shadows retreating from sunlight. Her body lay still on the floor, breathing, but her eyes were blank, as though whatever had been inside her had fled, leaving only the shell behind. Amaka and Iphigenia sat in silence, unsure what came next. Neither dared to touch her. Neither knew whether to feel victory or fear. But that night, while Iphigenia finally drifted into a broken sleep, Amaka could not rest. Something itched at the back of her mind, a memory, a whisper from the prophetess. Her power is not in her voice, it's buried in her past. That thought led her to Mama's bedroom. She stepped lightly, her heart drumming as if warning her to turn back. The room smelled like sweat and perfume, secrets and salt. On the floor was a mat, a calabash of palm wine, and the infamous red wrapper, now folded and stained. She knelt beside the bed. And then she saw it. A small wooden box, barely the size of a shoebox, shoved deep underneath. It was sealed with rope, cowries, and something that looked like a child's tooth tied with black thread. She pulled it out slowly. The box vibrated in her hands. Every instinct screamed at her to burn it. But she wanted to know. She had to know. She broke the cowries, untied the rope, and flipped open the lid. Inside were photos of her and her sisters, as babies, toddlers, children, each with small X marks on the corners. There was a diary, too. She opened it. The first page read, "I sold myself to wealth, and my daughters are the payment." Amaka's stomach twisted. Her own mother had bargained their souls. And now, it was up to her to rewrite their fate. The diary shook in Amaka's hands. The pages smelled of old incense and a strange metallic tang, like dried blood. She sat on Mama's bed, flipping through the chapters of betrayal, each line inked in a language that mixed confession and madness. They promised me riches if I could feed Mammon with 3 fruits from my womb. The man came to me in dreams first. Then one appeared in flesh, carrying gold teeth and fire in his breath. I birthed daughters, not for love, but for loyalty to the spirits of wealth. Amaka's vision blurred with tears. Everything made sense now, the constant push for prostitution, the sacrifices, the mirror, the fire rituals, the endless hunger for more. Mama Red hadn't raised them. She had harvested them. And Chica had escaped. Iphigenia was broken. That left only Amaka to end it. She tore out the final page. It held a ritual. A reversal. But it required the blood of the woman who made the vow, willingly or forcefully. That night, Amaka lit a candle by Mama's bedside. The woman still lay unconscious, her breath shallow, her skin pale. Iphigenia stood at the door. "Will she wake up?" she whispered. Amaka nodded slowly. "And when she does, we'll ask her one thing." "What's that?" "To set us free, or burn trying." Mama Red woke at dawn. The room was quiet except for the buzz of a dying mosquito trapped near the window. Her head throbbed like drums in a masquerade parade. When her eyes adjusted, she saw Amaka sitting across from her, holding the diary. "You found it," Mama muttered, her voice weak. Amaka didn't smile. "You lied to us. Used us. Sold us." Mama closed her eyes. "I fed you. With blood." She sighed. "You think survival in this city is easy? You think these men respect women who kneel for nothing?" Iphigenia sees demons. Chica is gone. And I don't sleep anymore. What did we ever do to deserve this? "You were born from a bargain," Mama said flatly. "I paid the price to never live poor again. I gave them what they asked for, beauty in 3 bodies." Tears rolled down Iphigenia's cheeks. She didn't speak. Amaka rose and held out the last page. "You can undo it. Return their power. Break the vow. Mama laughed bitterly. You think spirits accept refunds? You can choose now, free us or let us end it our way. For a moment, something flickered in Mama's eyes, regret, fear, maybe even love. Then she turned her head. Burn me, if that's what it takes. But know this, if you fail, the spirits will come for you. Amoka stared at her mother. And for the first time, she saw not a monster, but a woman buried under greed, chained by her own desperation. Then she nodded. If this is what freedom looks like, I accept the fire. The house was quiet when they began the ritual. Mama Red sat in the center of the living room, surrounded by salt, palm oil, and 3 burning white candles. Ifeanyi held the diary, while Amoka painted symbols across their mother's arms with charcoal. I never wanted to be this, Mama whispered. But this world teaches women to trade what they have, or be swallowed. You didn't have to trade us, Amoka said. Mama said nothing. The ritual began with a chant from the diary, an old Igbo invocation calling the ancestors of womb and soil. Ifeanyi read it, her voice trembling but clear. Thunder rolled in the distance. At the peak of the ritual, Mama was required to bleed. Amoka approached her with a small blade, the same one Mama had used years ago to mark their legs during their first ritual. This time, it was justice. She pricked Mama's palm and let the blood drop into a calabash. The candles flickered wildly. The room grew dark. Then the wind came, crashing against the windows, howling like a beast denied. The flames went blue. Mama began to scream. But she didn't fight. She screamed like she was birthing something from her soul, grief, maybe, or guilt. Then silence. The wind stopped. The flames died. Mama Red collapsed to the floor. Gone. Amoka held the calabash and looked outside. It had begun to rain. For the first time in years, the earth felt like it was washing something away. Chains. Curses. And maybe, their mother's sins. 3 months passed. The house still stood, but it was different. No more chants. No more spirits. No more midnight men knocking on their door with lust and payment. Chika sent a letter. She was safe, living near the riverside in Port Harcourt, learning how to make scented soaps. She had found peace. Ifeanyi enrolled in therapy, finally speaking of the nightmares that lived in her mirror. The therapist called it trauma. But Ifeanyi called it survival. And Amoka? She became a writer. She told their story, in fragments, in metaphors, in poetry. She published their pain under a pen name, Red's Daughters. People read it. Cried. Wrote letters of solidarity. Some even confessed their own dark upbringings. One day, Amoka returned to the prophetess of Oberland with an offering of yams and salt. You walked away, the old woman said with a proud smile. You burned the blood ropes. And you didn't lose your soul. Amoka bowed. But we lost a mother. The prophetess touched her chin. You found yourselves. That's worth more. The girls never forgot Mama Red. But they stopped living under her shadow. Sometimes, when the rain fell hard, they would light a candle and sit together, remembering the price they paid for freedom. And whisper a prayer, not for their past, but for girls like them, still trapped, still waiting to escape. Because somewhere, in some street, another girl was being told. Sleep with more men. I need more money. And she too, one day, would need fire to be free. Thank you listeners for staying till the end of this story. I'd really appreciate it if, after enjoying this story, you could take a moment to like, share, subscribe and leave a comment. Your support means a lot and helps encourage me to keep sharing more stories. Bye.